it's so great to have you here. I'm so excited and I'm so appreciative that you're allowing me the opportunity to share your story with our listeners and our viewers, because hopefully people are actually watching this, not just listening. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like I want people to see me,
Yeah.
right? When we're doing these things. So they can watch our facial expressions. And I think it's much more entertaining when you get to watch these things. So anyway, so Kyle Hudson and I met not that long ago, actually, and Kyle is the director of the BNI chapter that I decided that I needed to jump back into because BNI for me was an amazing gift. I made amazing relationships, friendships that I still have to this day. And we're talking, I was in BNI several years ago, like almost a decade ago. And I appreciate the springboard that it gives to the members to really make the connections, build up the referrals, and to really grow our businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and even business professionals who are responsible for rainmaking.
Yeah.
So that being said, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you'll do a lot better of a job than I will. So, Kyle, take the baton.
So I'm Kyle Hudson. I dread the question the most that is, what do you do? Because I do so many different things, have my hand in a few different pots. It's a complicated answer. But yeah, like you mentioned, we met through BNI, which is a fantastic organization. I'm one of the director consultants for BNI SC Low Country, which is the region that encompasses Charleston and the Beaufort, Hilton Head areas, and I'm one of several in the region. I help support the leadership teams and the members in the chapters that I help oversee, try to help make them successful. A lot of the things that I learned over my years in building my business through BNI, I try to impart to others and really help explain the process because BNI is a very process driven organization. And if you follow the process, it works. If you fight the process, you're not going to get as much return on your investment as if you follow the process. So that's a lot of what I do. My background is in the trades. So I'm a partner in a landscaping company that I started with my brother out of high school. That company has around 23 employees.
Nice.
Right now, it varies, seasonally, but currently we're at 23 employees. Um, I run more the back end of that company, the finance side, vendor management, things like that. Um, but I also have a consulting company where I do business coaching for trades, really focusing on helping guys who are in the trades, more owner operator businesses, scale their companies, hire, delegate, and learn how to turn their company from a job into an actual asset that continues to generate wealth for them, their families, and that they can hopefully sell one day. Because you're going to have to exit at some point, whether it's in the ground or through a sale. So,
Well, hopefully it's a nice exit strategy and you get to reap the benefit and the reward of all of that and then actually go on a boat somewhere and be very happy knowing that your business is in good hands and
yeah,
right, that's the goal. Let-
exactly,
let- yeah,
exactly.
let's say the golden years, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
that's what we want, the golden years. So that's really interesting. So let's go back for a second. So you answered a couple questions before we got on the call.
hmm
And I'd like to just go back because there's something that you wrote, and my eye's going to go over here for a second because you wrote a couple things. So let's go back to first, how did you and your brother decide to even get into the landscaping business? What was that? Because you must have
yeah.
been very young.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially it was out of necessity. My dad was sick when I was a teenager, and he had some issues for a while from brain cysts. He had multiple surgeries on his head. He was in quite a bad shape for a while throughout my teenage years. So
I'm
we had a rougher time financially, and so essentially we just worked our butts off. I did construction, commercial cleaning. So I've been cutting grass for money since I was 12. And so me and my brother, by the time we got out of high school, we had about 30 to 40 clients. And so we were just kind of like, hey, we've already got the makings of a business here. And it wasn't official. We didn't have a license or like anything. We're like, "Look, why don't we just run with it?" And so that's what we did. We went and got an actual business license, opened a real bank account, and got real branding and logos made and this, that, and the other. And you just look up, several years later, and you've all of a sudden got 23 employees behind you, and it's just crazy how that happens.
Okay, so wait a second. So first of all, I'm sorry that your dad went through that, and that, and I give you a lot of credit because you pivoted. You found a way to, and you figured it out,
Yeah.
right? And on top of that, don't don't underestimate the value of what you did. The fact that you grew a business, and yes, I know you're making light of it, but I know it wasn't always that easy. So if you could share just a little bit about how you went from just your brother and you to 23 employees, because that's pretty impressive. And that's a scale that most entrepreneurs don't get to.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
essentially, I mean, it started out really slow. So we hired our first employee by year two. The first year was just the two of us. It was a neighbor of ours who was a good friend who he was in painting, and we got to keep in mind this is around 2010-ish. So, we were just coming out of the financial crisis and the recession. He was struggling to find painting work because construction still was kind of slow at that point. So we hired him, and we really didn't know what we were doing business wise. We were just like, I mean, organic is the best term I can use for it was organic growth. And over the course of about 10 years, we built a team where we had maybe around 6 employees, including ourselves. Um, so about a decade in, my knees were really, really hurting. My back was hurting. And I also have a weird heart condition. That's not super serious, but it makes it a struggle for me um, to work in the field or in production long term. So I just kind of realized when I was like, man, if I drop dead of a heart attack or something,
Oh,
this all goes away and everybody's, but it was a serious concern at the time.
yeah.
And so I was like, if I get hit by a bus, I drop dead, we are up a creek without a paddle. So I talked to my brother about, the need for us to figure out what to do with the company and how to scale it. And so we started engaging with business coaches. And I honestly didn't even know what to expect or where to go. We felt completely rudderless. Uh, Coaching is what helped us to kind of figure out what a business could actually be, other than just a job, and how to scale it and how important it is for an owner to get out of production if at all possible. And that was our biggest hurdle that we had to get over first was how do we get Kyle out of production and then eventually Zach out of production? How do you build a team? How do you scale it? How do you build a business that supports that as well? And that's what we worked on. And we've been in that phase for about 5 years. And immediately it just took off and it's been
Awesome.
scaling like crazy. We won best landscaping company in Charleston by the newspaper here, the major newspaper here, the past couple years in a
Congratulations.
row. So yeah, we're very
Awesome.
proud of it. We focus a lot on the community brand identity and all that too. So building a solid business all the way around is what we really focus on.
Okay, so is your brother doing coaching with you, or is he still running the landscaping?
No, he's not in coaching. That's a separate company, and in the landscaping company, he runs some of the day-to-day. Essentially, a lot of the company completely runs itself. Essentially, what he does is he manages some of the one-off projects and helps with that, but all the recurring services completely are self-managed.
Okay. So when you say the company's running itself, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are hearing that.
Yeah.
And and I know the question is, how do you do that? How
One of
did
my
you do?
Yeah, one of my favorite books was by Mike McAllist. It's called Clockwork. That's one of my absolute favorite business books. The premise of that book was to be able to take a vacation, extended vacation, and have your company be able to run all the processes of it
Awesome.
without you. And I thought that the takeaway from that book that most people get is the wrong one.
Which
And
would be what? Wait, what's the wrong takeaway before you tell us the right one?
the whole point in that book is freeing yourself to do what you do best in the role in your company. And my thought was, why don't I free myself to where I don't have to do anything in my company?
Right. Replace yourself. That's a great
Right.
takeaway. Be able
Right.
to, right. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that I kept looking at everything through that lens to where it's like every process, every system from customer acquisition to fulfillment to
Yep.
invoicing to the company growing itself needs to be able to be done without my direct involvement. And so that's what we've worked on. And I would say it is 90% of the way there. The only piece of the puzzle that I think would still need to iron out is where it continues to grow and figure out where it's going long term. Like season to
Hmm.
season, I think it would be all right, but that's the piece that still has to be. That's pretty much where I come in
Yeah.
and kind of steering the ship still.
Okay. So I know like it was so 4.5 years ago before we moved down to Charleston, my husband and I lived in New York. So most of the landscaping companies down there in the summer, they were doing landscaping for pretty much 6 to 7 months of the year. And then
Mhm.
in the winter, they put the snow plows on the front of their trucks and they would do the driveways and the shoveling
Yeah.
of the snow. So we don't have that much snow down here.
Yeah.
And we don't even have salt down here. And by the
Yeah.
way, my husband and I, we don't even have a shovel. We left it in New York. We're done with the shovels. So your business, is it technically all year round?
It is. I mean, there is a certain seasonality to it. The business is kind of broken up into three buckets. There's the maintenance, install, and fertilizer weed control. Fertilizer weed control is 10 months out of the year, which is nice. The maintenance is a bit year round. The big difference we have here versus up north is the trees up north do they kind of dump all their leaves like at once. And then you do
Hmm.
like major leaf cleanups. Here you've probably noticed it's like a slow trickle all fall and winter long.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so what's nice about that is for the neighborhoods where they left the trees, there's a lot where they just bulldoze them all, but
Yeah.
neighborhoods where they left the trees, it gives us like year-round cleanup work that we do. But we also are a multifaceted company. We try to be one-stop shop. We do a lot of hardscape. We do lighting. We do planting. We do everything that there is to do. And so we pivot to a lot of those more installation focused projects and things to keep our guys busier in the off season. And that was part of the strategy in
Right.
diversifying our services so that
That's
there's
the
always
word,
something to offer.
diversify.
Yeah,
That's great. So, okay, so being diversified is good because even if some of those things have more of a seasonality, you're keeping your business going regardless of what else is happening in the
correct.
market. Okay,
Correct.
awesome.
And I had a marketing meeting with the company that we use for digital marketing this morning. That's what we were doing. We were actually planning right now the fall and winter marketing messaging and what we're pivoting to going into those seasons so that we keep the pipeline full. So yeah, that was
That's
the reasoning behind a
fantastic.
lot of that.
That's great. So all of those words that you're saying, and it's so funny because I just got off another conversation with somebody, and we were talking about the word sales and selling,
Mhm.
and they're like, "I don't want to be a salesperson. That's not. I'm a consultant." And I'm thinking to myself, "No, you are selling." And you need to diversify your products and services, right? So
Yeah.
when you realize that and you started to now you've got these other branches. So you talk about SOPs, standard operating procedures.
Mhm.
So how do you get your SOPs into your employees so that it comes second nature to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually mapped out the training for the different buckets of it. So, there's no replacement in the trades for on-the-job training, but at the same time, the people who are doing the training need to have like an actual checklist
Mhm.
to make sure that everybody's getting that and that their skill is getting to where it needs to be. And we like to do things a little different than a lot of other companies do. There's a lot of companies that cut corners in certain respects and certain aspects that we just don't tolerate. And what's so funny is you can always tell if our crew did um, a job versus another company because there's a lot of the little things. And
It's good.
so we've got those checklists in place that are actually reviewed by those who are tasked with doing the training. We've got, their first 30 days mapped out. We've got their first week completely mapped out. And they're not allowed to move on to a new task until we've got everything, checked off and signed off. And we go through all the little details on those things, and then we have weekly staff meetings where we go over refreshers on safety and all kinds of different things. And if we're noticing a dip in quality on something in particular, we get a complaint, we address those so that we make sure everybody's on the same page and that we're
That's
we're doing
great.
it right going forward.
Okay, so I just want to go back for a second. That's great that you do that because a lot of people take it for granted. Like I'll build a team and they don't put the time into the training piece. So that's fantastic. And something else that you mentioned is the time management and the time blocking. So is that for you or is that for your team?
Well, that's for me personally. One of the things that really helped me with running the company is blocking my time. And I've used a few different methods over the years. One that I really, really liked was the Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt. That thing is great. And in fact, I've gifted them to several people. Over the years, not because anything um, well, I actually ended up building my own planner because I could never find a planner that was quite perfect. So I actually built my own. But then I even moved away from that just because we're in such like a digital modern world. I like pen and paper, but it's not always practical. I like had this giant, like essentially binder that I had to carry around everywhere because I had everything laid out just like I wanted it. So I've worked on building more digital means of doing it. One of the main things that I use is Google Tasks, because you can break it up into different areas of your life too. So I've got my work tasks, my family tasks, spiritual tasks, physical tasks, and I can even break it up by company, and then it integrates into your calendar and it just makes things so much easier. But staying organized like that's the only way you can have multiple ventures and keep a company on track if you're in leadership. I mean, I think time blocking is a good exercise for anybody, but if you have any kind of leadership position in an organization, to me, you have to be managing or blocking your time, or else you're just wasting it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So I'm just curious. So so all of that you just said about the time blocking and getting organized and really getting focused, was that from your experience with the business coaches or was there something else that you got?
No, that the coaches, that was something I got into myself just because I could feel myself being rudderless and
Yeah.
my days escaping me and not knowing where to go. So I knew I needed to get really organized because I came out of the field and out of production, but then I had to justify my continued paycheck when I'm not billing out, um, revenue. So I made the connection between what my time should be worth, what it's worth not being in production versus what am I generating by my activity today or saving the company one way or another. And doing that exercise is where I started to realize the need for time blocking because you're just wasting money out the door. I think too many business owners, especially of smaller companies, don't recognize the value of what their time is worth. And I was actually talking about that with somebody today. I said, you need to assign yourself a value as an owner. And every task that you're doing for your company that you would not pay someone this much an hour to do, you need to find a way to delegate off your plate.
That's great advice. Yep, great advice. So, okay, so now you've replaced yourself technically in the landscaping piece and you move into the business coaching.
Mm.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What was the impetus and why business coaching?
Well, first of all, I just really enjoyed doing it. And I was doing it for so many people for free. I was like, hey, I might as well get paid for it. Uh,
Good for you.
so I had friends, always hitting me up for advice, and I was glad to give it. I'm a big fan of Donald Miller too, with Story Brand and Business Made Simple. And he really encourages folks who have that knowledge and have that passion to get into it. And so it kind of gave me a little bit of a push. But one of the things for my specific focus and the reason I wanted to get into it was so many coaches tend to come from a white collar background. Not always. There are a few blue collar or and folks from trades backgrounds, but they're few and far between. So most of the coaches that we have dealt with over the years would teach us really amazing principles that are true across industry. But we often struggled with getting application and tactical advice because you do need an understanding of how those specific business types work.
Yep.
Um, and so that's the gap that I always found was that there's not enough guys that come from the trades, and then once they start learning these things, starting to teach the other guys who are in that same field. So it's just a gap in the market, and I have a passion for it, so I just want to help others.
Great. So there's I think it was in the movie Robots. Did you ever see this movie? And there's a saying, find a need, fill a need.
Is that the animated movie?
Yes.
Yeah, my son loves that movie. I've
Yeah.
actually never
See, so
watched
I'm
it,
on the
but he
same,
loves it.
okay, so I'm on the same wavelength as your son. How old's your son?
He's 3.
Okay, we got problems. So I think I need to come up with a different analogy. But anyway, the that movie came out a long time ago. He wasn't
Mhm.
even born yet. I know that's more than 3 years old, that movie. I was hoping you were going to say he's like 18 or 19, but okay. Anyway, so yeah, so find a need and fill a need, which you did. So you have this expertise and you have that experience. And even though you and I only know each other a very short amount of time, what I know from you is that you're extremely purposeful. You're intentional, you're purposeful, you're professional, and you don't waste your words, you don't waste your energy. You're very left brain when you need to be, and you also know how to build rapport and relationships and the warmth from your connections. I mean, I see it all over and I experienced it.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate that.
having said that, you're welcome. And it's the truth. And I'm not just, saying it to be nice. So being totally authentic, I think that is something that if if there was something that we could share with all of the viewers and listeners that are going to be listening to this podcast, and I hope it's like over 17 million, that's the goal, right? What's the and now we're talking to landscapers, we're talking to plumbers, we're talking to electricians, we're talking to power washers, we're talking to house painters. Who else are we talking to? Who else are your clients? Or
Um, yeah, carpenters, pressure
okay.
washers. I mean, just about anybody in trades and home services business is what we focus on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing that you want to say to these guys who think that they have to do it by themselves,
Hmm.
because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes you get these guys and they have a little bit of ego and they have a little bit of machoism,
Hmm.
machismo, I think they say is the
Hmm.
word. And they don't, I don't need anybody. I don't need any help because right. So those guys end up being the ones who struggle because their ego gets in the way of them actually being successful because they don't know they have to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's not a sign of weakness. So you, as a coach who can help that guy, what do you want to say to him?
That I was that guy. I had the same problem, and I definitely understand it because you think that nobody can replace you and do your job as good as you. The thing that I would say to that guy is that, if your company cannot operate when you go on a week-long vacation or your revenue completely dries up and comes to a halt if you want to take your family somewhere for the weekend, you've got a serious problem on your hands. You don't actually have a business, you have a job. And you could just as easily go work for someone else and you'll have a lot less headache and a lot less risk hanging over your head as a business owner. So yeah, you need to have a coach. You cannot grow your business without having someone who's done it before leading you by the hand. I mean, we want to say we can do it all, but you don't know what you don't know. And one of the things that I always like to say to business owners too is to think about how much in revenue or in dollars the decisions that you make every day are worth. Coaching can range from hundreds to thousands of dollars, but the average business owner makes thousands of dollars of decisions a day or a week, and ask yourself, will I make more money and better decisions in revenue with the help of a coach than what it's costing me? And that's your ROI. So if you have $1,000 coaching package you're looking at, if you have a $5,000 coaching package you're looking at, if you think that person can help you make $5,000 better decisions or more, that's a good ROI. And you need to jump on it. So that's the thing that I tell people to think about is value yourself, value the decisions you make, value how much of an impact those decisions have on your employees, on your family, and in the community. And make sure you're investing in good advice to help you make the best decisions possible.
That sounds great. I hope they hear that. I hope they hear that.
Me too.
So, okay. So for all of the thousands that are listening and watching, how do they get in touch with you? What's the process? How do they find you?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we are on the web. So it's serviceedgeconsultinggroup.com. It's pretty simple. There's contact forms there. You can message us directly on Facebook, Instagram. You can even call our number, which is 843-991-4109 if you want to reach out.
Okay, wait a second. One rule. When anybody gives a phone number, you have to give them time to actually write it down. So say it again slower because I'm old and I need to write it down.
Sorry, and I talk fast. So it's 843 991, not 911. It's 991 4109.
4109. Okay. And we're going to actually include it also when we promote the podcast. We'll have it in the captions and you'll have all your contact information on that as well. All right. So one last thing. What is the one, when you look at what you've created and what you still have yet to create because you're still young, right? And you don't know what you don't know yet. What's the biggest life lesson that you would want to share so far on your journey?
That we kind of already talked about it a bit, but I can't overemphasize, you cannot do it on your own. It's the team and the mentors that you have around you and the quality of the people that you surround yourself with will be the quality of the business and the quality of the life that you have.
Fantastic. So that's so interesting. So I don't know if you know about my ficus tree philosophy. And if for those of us who don't know, I'm going to just tell you very quickly. So I believe we're like ficus trees, 2-trunk ficus trees, right? And if those 2 trunks, your professional growth, your learning, your expansion, your stretching your comfort zone isn't growing at the same rate as your professional success, your tree is going to tip over.
Right.
They need to be growing in conjunction. And then that's when you get the prosperity, the abundance, the opportunity to really live your life in alignment with purpose in all areas of your life. And I love that you said that you're looking, when you put things into your calendar, you're putting in for all aspects, your relationships, your health, your finances, and your business, right? That's fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time today. And I look forward to watching you grow and continue on your successful path. And I'm sure I will see you at BNI.
I'm sure you will. Thank you so much for having me today. It really was a pleasure talking with you.